What's up, you damn gorgeous and beautiful gamers? So welcome back to Role-Playing Games. This is Mariel Corner in the internet where we like to discuss about RPGs. If you like the content, if you like to have these conversations with Mariel James, I would very much like to invite you, like always, please hit that like button. It really helps me like you have no idea. And also most of the people that watches my content are in fact not subscribed to my channel. So what are you waiting for? My mama says that I'm a nice guy. You should very much like to spend time around it, yeah. That being said, patch 104, which recently got to Elden Ring. It gave a very much needed buff to our melee characters, strength builds, our boink builds, but also gave some buff into incantations, although that is not the topic of today's video. Today's video we will be discussing about which is the best Colossal sword for purely melee builds. Boink builds, which are not kind of boinks because these blades actually have edges. Anyways, I'm digressing too much. Little disclaimer before we continue, I am not taking into account any of the elemental swords. Those swords that scale with intelligence or fate or all of that stuff, we're specifically focusing ourselves on the melee weapon department. Full melee weapons. So, on the stats for the build that I have right here to showcase, we have a very basic and standard strength build, which we have at strength 67, which ideally gets us to 99 strength while two-handing the weapons because of the augment that we get on that strength, on that stat, while we two-hand the weapons. That said, let's review first the damage. Of my weapons while one-handing them. You will see that we have on our main slot, the first slot, the crafted blade, a greatsword plus 10. Then we have the heavy greatsword, which has an A scaling and strength, followed by the watchdog's heavy greatsword, S scaling and strength. That's beautiful. Troll's golden heavy sword, B scaling and strength, and then the Sui Handa, a fan favorite, B scaling and strength. Respectively, if we actually take a look at them, you will see that on the crafted blade, one-handing it, we have 772 damage. If we move over to the greatsword, we have 765 damage. The watchdog's greatsword, 747. The troll golden sword, 716. And then finally the Sui Handa at 664. As you can see right here, just by some points, the strongest choice one-handing the weapon at 67 strength, we have our crafted blade on the top. But what happens if we actually decide to wield these things two-handed? So right now I am two-handing the weapons, and the damage is going to change based on the modifier, and it seems it pretty much will be the case that I have 99 strength right now, even though I do not have it. That's because of the modifier, the plus modifier and the damage. But when we actually two-hand the weapons, you will see that the crafted blade has 838 AR, 845 on the greatsword attack range, 833 for the watchdog greatsword, 787 for the golden troll sword, and 730 for the Sui Handa. So as you can see, it happens a slight change in here. And that change is that while two-handing the weapon, because of the scaling of the weapon, the one that deals more damage now is the greatsword, which is to be expected. I mean, to be expected. The greatsword has always been one of the strongest ultra colossal swords in all of the Souls games. But that being said, now I believe that if we can discard the other ones, we can discard this one, and this one, and this one, and the battle is going to be between those two. Again, let's make a recap. One-handing them, this one deals more damage than this one. When we two-hand them, this one deals more damage than this one. But the basic, the the difference is not that much. We have 7 points difference in here, and then we have roughly again like 7 points in here. So now let's take context into account. Weapon skill. The weapon skill, the weapon art of this thing increases my stats by 5 points. So you will notice that when I use that thing, now this one deals more damage. Why is that? If supposedly the greatsword is scaling more, why when I have 5 more stats, this one scales better? Well, basically because this one has the scaling, and since I incremented my scaling on dexterity and strength, it seems at first sight that this one has better scaling, but that's not the case. It's just that this one got scaling from 10 points, this one got scaling for 5 points, even when the scaling is better. Another interesting thing about this thing is that it increases your poise. And with this kind of builds, we also like to have a healthy amount of poise to be able to withstand the hits that we're going to be trading with this thing, because these are slow weapons. But since this seems to be better, then what can this thing do to outclass it? Well, versatility. You can attach weapon arts onto this thing. Ashes of War. You can attach Ashes of War into the greatsword. One of the strongest Ashes of War for this kind of build has always been this baby that you will see right here, which is the Lion's Claw. This is one of the most popular Ashes of War when it comes to Colossal swords. Essentially what this does is that it makes you plunge into the air and fast attack like hell, like you were able to see right there. The interesting part about it all is that this thing got buffed as well. The casting speed is faster, the animation is faster, the recovery is faster. So as you can see, you can spam this thing endlessly, and roughly this thing is going to be dealing, depending if you're one-handing it, if you had like for example your shield and then you cast it, it's going to deal more damage when you two-handed it, but the difference is going to be like 100 damage at the end of the day, so it's really not that important. But what it is important is that depending on the enemy resistances the enemy has on physical / on the kinds of damage that this thing actually does. I forgot where you were able to see the kind of damage that this thing does. So far we know that it deals physical damage, like that's the basic of it all. But depending on the enemy, it's going to deal 1.k to 2k damage depending on the enemy, again, which is crazy if you consider that this thing you can spam it, and if you consider that the amount of staggering that it's going to cause into the enemies is also filthy and disgusting. So if we pair that up against this thing, the highest possible damage that you can deal with this thing to an enemy is by charging it. And as you can see, by charging it, it takes way too much for you. It's also going to give you hyper armor when you charge this thing, but this thing also gives you tremendous hyper armor while casting it. So the thing is that when you actually charge the heavy attack on this thing, more often than not, it's never going to reach the range of damage and DPS of this thing because of the speed that this thing has. So there you have it. It was like the grafted blade got buffed as well, a basic damage buff on top of all of the speed and all of the stuff that we have. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the Guts sword from Berserk, the fan favorite, the heavy greatsword, is still the king when it comes to this kind of builds. I will have this build showcased for you guys in a video later on, but I mean, it's not necessary. You already have it in here now. We just need like for it to have a title and for people to find it more easily. But at the end of the day, That is the answer. Out of all of the physical swords that we have right now, this is the strongest one. So if you're planning on making a boink build, consider this thing because it's going to be the strongest possible choice that you can have. That being said, remember that if no one has told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person, you are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Remember to like the video and subscribe before you close the door. I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day, and goodbye.